Vice President Fox.
Here.
President Lawson.
Here. Let's see, for the Pledge of Allegiance, I want to call on my old flag football teammate Foster Hicks to lead the flag salute. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Actions in closed session were only those involving student discipline, which we'll get to in a minute, and just a few reports on progress of other issues and stuff, no other actions taken. Okay, moving to our recommendation on student discipline. We have 6 cases of people up for expulsion, which was recommended, and they've all received the full process, I guess you would call it due process. And so I tell you what, I'll offer the motions because I got the numbers sitting here in front of me, and I will gladly accept a second on each one. First of all, okay, I move that we accept the recommendation for expulsion for case F2019 AHP 6. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Fox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I move that we pursue the expulsion on student F2019 AHP 7.
I second that.
Seconded by Trustee Ubaldi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I recommend, I move for the expulsion of student F2019 AHP 8. Oh, so, was that?
Trustee Gardner.
Oh, Trustee Gardner, okay, you'll get the next one, Trustee Gross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. F, recommendation expulsion of student F2019 AHP 9, Trustee Gross.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The recommendation for expulsion on student F2019 AHP 10.
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Fox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And finally, for expulsion of student F2019 AHP 11.
Second.
And seconded by Trustee Ubaldi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that's taken care of. We move on to, let's see, adoption of board agenda. Do we have, okay, Vice President Fox?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Ubaldi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, at this point, I call to order our annual organization meeting. I don't know if I had to do that or not, but, first item is item 5.1, elections. Let's see, how does this work? Let me just see what you have to bear with me. This is what the heck? Oh, I don't think there's anything under that. I think we go right to the first item. It's just saying, let me see here.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir?
I move that we elect Vice President John Fox as our new president.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Gross. Any commentary, questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We then move on down to, let's see, for Vice President of the Board. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Ubaldi for office of Vice President.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Fox. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, let's see, now, is this takes place immediately?
Yes, we change
Oh.
the seats.
Okay, so they should play a little music while we're carrying our signs down the way, and all the paraphernalia. So we'll,
Getting rid of this stuff around my desk.
We'll call a pause.
Please remove your pen out of there.
I built, like a little bit. No urban renewal here, no, Bob can sit, he can sit there. No. No urban renewal here.
Not Tony, just, no. The total number of ELs and RFEPs, right? ELs and you need RFEPs too, right?
No, let,
You need both.
no, come on, Bob.
Let's make sure we have the names all right. Got me here? Me here, right?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Our next item on our agenda is 5.3. Correct? We're still into 5.2?
Oh, no.
Appointments, oh. For our appointments, I would like to keep mine, Solano County School Board Association. May I hear from the others?
Yes, Mr. President, I would also like to stay with the Vallejo Education and Business Alliance.
Okay, yeah, and I'll stay with the interagency. As Mitch and I well know, many important things happen at the interagency meetings, and so we'll keep the continuity.
Are we good with?
We got safe routes to schools.
And I had that one last year, so I can remain on that one.
Which one is that?
Safe routes to schools.
We have 2 seats open for Vallejo Education Business Alliance, and my understanding is that you're part of that, Trustee Gross?
Yeah, but Christy and I talked about that, and I'm gonna defer that over to her.
Oh, okay.
So Trustee Gardner, are you going to be doing Vallejo Education and Business Alliance?
Yes, with trustee Ubaldi.
Sharing together? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so everyone has an appointment for that, and we will hear out monthly reports, or does everyone?
Yes,
Okay, so as long as we hear out what's going on each, thank you.
wonderful.
And now 5.3, adoption of, oh, for the last one. We have a motion to accept.
Yeah,
I move that we accept your appointments to those particular offices.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Appointments are done. Now 5.3. Adoption of Wells Fargo Bank designated depository. This is an action item. And present, so just take, do we have a motion to accept?
I move to accept the adoption of Wells Fargo Bank as designated bank.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes
And
5-0.
I just, wanted to comment, that Wells Fargo, the local Wells Fargo Bank has been a strong supporter of things supporting the schools, such as Elizabeth Hoffman's Rebuilding Together and stuff like that. And I realized a few years ago, there was a lot of problems with those because, you know, Wells Fargo was wicked and bad, and all banks are wicked and bad if you give them a chance. But the thing is that, you know, because of the working with them, and I'm glad we've stuck with them.
Thank you. 5.4, organizational meeting, adoption of policies, and this is an action item.
Point of order, was there an attachment to that?
No.
Want to make sure I did not miss it, thank you.
I think this, I would move approval. I think this is an item that you just do to say that we actually have a set of rules that we're going to follow that, you know, because if we didn't, then there would be no rules and do anything we wanted to.
Do we have
I move approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes 5-0. The next item we are on is 5.5, organizational meeting, readoption of existing instructional programs.
I move for adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Now we're moving down to 5.6. Organizational meeting, item 6, adoption of the 2020 schedule for board meetings. There is an attachment for this.
Can I, President, can I make a comment about this?
Thank you.
So our bylaws say the board shall hold 2 regular meetings each month. Regular meetings shall be held at 5 p.m. on the first and third Wednesday of the month at the Vallejo City Unified School District. However, the first meeting for 2020 will be held, if we stick to this schedule, on the third Wednesday, because the first Wednesday is New Year's Eve. Bylaws indicate 2 regular meetings each month will be held. Therefore, the second meeting will be held on the 5th Wednesday, January 29th, which impacts the first and third Wednesday rule policy. Unless you schedule a February 5th meeting, which is the first Wednesday in February, that would bring us, we would have back-to-back meetings, but that would get us back on track.
If we had a study session in between that, would that count to alleviate the requirement?
Yeah, it could.
So I
Absolutely.
suggest that February 5th, when, is that Wednesday? I need to look.
Wednesday, February 5th is a Wednesday.
I propose that Wednesday, February 5th, we have a study session at 4 or 5. You would fulfill that requirement. Trustee Lawson?
Question, then, so you do away with the February 12th meeting?
No. There's been a lot of requests for study sessions.
Well, that's, you know, a study session wouldn't be part of our, I don't think we need to put that on the regular calendar.
We could place a study session in place of one of the regular meetings. So January 29th could be a study session, and February 5th could be a regular meeting.
And I would think that you just want to make sure we eliminate the need for having meetings 3 or 4 days apart, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Anyone else? Comment or input?
So if we have the study session on the 5th or the 29th, I guess it wouldn't really matter. Would then we be back in rotation? Or is that what the goal is here?
So we would want to schedule a regular meeting on February 5th. And then we could do the 12th could be a study session, and then the 26th would be the third
Wednesday?
Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Well, one thing with this, with our study sessions, of course, by that time, the study sessions have to do with the budget. I think it's the kind of thing that we can schedule it once we've actually got something to talk about and something to be presented. We may not have everything, in the case, if we're counting on hearing something from Adrian, that maybe, picking a date for the study session or something closer to when it's going to be, then we'll know that there's a point to it. That's,
So what I propose is leaving it as is, and then we will schedule the study sessions to make up for it. I mean, that's what we're going to have to do. I mean, otherwise, we're going to have to change the whole calendar.
So, well, we have a motion to accept.
Let me understand. You're suggesting, Dr. Clark, that we proceed with what we have in front of us here
Yes.
accordingly. Okay, with that in mind, so moved.
second.
All in favor?
I-
Opposed? Okay, so
Let me follow that also. Did I hear also, Dr. Clark, that we will have a request of a study session between January and February sometime?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
all right. Adjourn annual meeting. Number 7, do we have any recognitions tonight?
Recognition.
No recognitions. All right, for forum, I'm hoping we have student representatives. Do we have anyone from Bethel, Vallejo?
Lots of- We have several student presentations this evening, so this will be.
In lieu of the reports,
good.
okay?
So first of all, we had, Dr. Kelly, you have a student? Oh, okay, all right. So do we have someone from Vallejo High? No, Vallejo High. So then we're going to go to, we had some students go on a trip, and so we would like to hear about that particular trip. I know the board would like to hear about the trip that they went to with representatives from the city of Vallejo. So we could do that presentation now.
Okay.
Then we'll go into the rest of the presentations. Young lady, will you come and get the clicker? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Ramon Kuzi. I'm the principal at Jesse Bethel High School. Both Principal Jared Bordy and I were, with the support of the district leadership and with the city council and the city of Vallejo, we were able to go to San Antonio, Texas, and attend the National League Conference, the youth conference. It's very exciting. Before we start, I would like to introduce to you Vice Mayor Pippin Dew.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm very excited about this presentation. The National League of Cities is an organization that represents hundreds of thousands of cities all across the United States, and we have city summits every year and somewhere around the United States, and this year it was in San Antonio. They have a whole program at these summits that is dedicated to youth delegates, and it's about all kinds of things that they are going to share. But I am very excited that we were able to forge this partnership with the city and the school district to be able to give this opportunity to some of our wonderful students. And I have to tell you, like, they were amazing there. Like, every time I popped in on one of their workshops, they were half the time they didn't even know I was there because they were so intensely engaged and focused on what they were learning and the networking that they were getting to do. And it really was just so amazing. We had over 4,000 representatives from cities all over the United States, and a significant portion of that was youth delegates. So these young folks got to network with, just amazing people from all the United States and came back with some pretty impressive ideas that I'm looking forward to championing with my colleague, Hakeem Brown.
Okay, before they start, we'd like them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Kahayag. I'm a senior at Jesse Bethel High School.
Hi, my name is Jalen Amboy. I'm also a senior at Jesse Bethel High School.
I'm Jaden Smith. I'm a senior at Jesse Bethel High School.
My name is Megan Rita Alvarez, and I'm a senior at Vallejo High School.
I'm Micah Moriano, and I'm also a senior from Vallejo High School.
And Also, Jasmine Kaya, this is her second time going, and so is, as a chaperone, Miss Janice Lubin, who's currently a vice principal at Hogan Junior High School. So go ahead and start.
So NLC stands for National League of Cities, and it's when people from all around the nation come together at a conference to talk about what they can improve in their city and their community. It's people such as city council members and youth delegates just like us.
So in day one, we all attended a youth delegate lunch, dressed up, and we were with other youth councils, and we were told to write what we love about our city, and we wrote Vallejo musical artists. Afterwards, we attended a youth delegates workshop, and they had an activity where they asked us 2 questions. What would you change about your city? And we wrote homelessness because everyone deserves a shelter and the appearance of a city, so that we can make our city look nice. And the other question was, what has your youth council done for the city that you're proud of? And we wrote coastal cleanup because we cleaned up. This was an event where both of our high schools came together to clean up the city.
So on the second day, we got to meet a comedian, Jesus Trejo, which is in the top picture on the left. We watched his documentary, which talked about his struggles of taking care of his parents and, We watched his documentary, which talked about his struggles of taking care of his parents and trying to find a house that suits their disabilities. NLC members talked about how they could better the community by providing for the residents that have disabilities. Next, we did some work of our own that me and my colleagues are proud of. As you can see on the bottom left, it says reputation and police brutality. This consisted in our workshop of expressing advocacy through arts, which basically talked about what we can do, what problems we face in our city, and how we can make them better. So we worked with other youth delegates in our cities, We worked with other youth delegates from different cities and to come up with ideas how to fix the problems we face in our city. In the top right, next we have the Presidential Forum, which we were able to meet 2 presidential candidates, Julian Castro and Joe Walsh, and be able to experience campaigning firsthand.
So on the third day of the conference, it was our last day attending the conference. So the first thing that we did was we attended the last youth delegate session that highlighted environmental issues. One of the things they talked about was reducing your carbon waste. So one of the things they talked about was sponsored by Swell, the water bottle company. They provided water bottles to the entire school district in one of the cities in New York City, and it really promoted less plastic bottle usage. So that was something really interesting to me. One of the other things was at the general session, the very last general session, we had activist Common and also a musical artist talking about his own political views about the city and things like that. On the left-hand side, we have a picture with the new NLC conference president, Joe Buscaino. And on the left side, we have a picture with the former president. Her name is Karen Freeman Wilson, and along with Ms. Pippin Dew. So thank you.
So initially, we attended general sessions, and during those, they spoke about infrastructure, like physical infrastructure, like roads and buildings, but also human infrastructure, because there's unemployment rates are rising, and so is homelessness, and so is crime. So to reduce this, they wanted to bring attention to their city. So they added art, they added murals. They wanted to add more things where people would want to attend, or not attend, but like go to take pictures, attract more beauty and attention into our cities so people feel safer, feel more welcomed in our cities.
So some of the things that we would like to happen, of course, we went here to learn some things that we can apply to our city, but we did want to try to find new projects that we can do at our school. So first of all, here on the right-hand side, on the bottom corner, we have a picture of the Jesse Bethel Entrance High School sign. One of the things that we wanted to do was install brass jaguars right on top of this, right on top of the sign. The purpose of that is to it's a welcoming sign to really just represent what Bethel is, and it'll really improve the beautification of our school. Additionally, we have murals on the left-hand corner that represent the mascot, the former and the new mascot at Vallejo High School. So one of the things that we want to do is paint new murals at Jesse Bethel High School. I realized that when there's new art, when there's murals such as these, it really promotes happiness and, you know, joy and taking pride in your school. So if we can paint new murals, people will feel happier and it'll be a safer and healthier environment because you can walk into your campus feeling welcomed and just, you know, positive.
At Vallejo High School, we saw how Bethel has a wellness room where people can go to like de-stress, talk about how they feel. We wanted to also install a wellness room to our school because there's a lot of students who are going through hard times at home or at school or just with themselves, and they have no one to talk to. So we want to create a safe space for them to talk to. We're trying to get a peer counseling program back together and have also our counselors, and we want the students to be welcomed here. And also, Kaiser Permanente, they're trying to start a mentorship with us. Also with a local college is working with them. They're trying to start a mentorship starting with like 20 students, and they would be able to talk to the students like personally, and they could talk about whatever. And we would like this wellness room to be a good place for them to talk. And also, if like we can get these things going, we also wanted to start like a city scavenger hunt. So people can go around, take pictures with the things on the scavenger hunt, and explore their cities, feel more welcome and more open to exploring their cities.
We want to say thank you for listening to our presentation, and thank you for your support, and we hope for your support in the future. These are some of the pictures that we took. We learned some history about the Alamo, and when we were walking around the conference, we took some pictures with the NLC letters and some other pictures that we took during our downtime.
So we would like to further ourselves in the upcoming Congressional City Conference, which is in Washington, D.C. And we would like to do that with your guys' support to further student interactions with the school board and with our city. Thank you.
You all did a wonderful job, and I just want to tell you how proud we are of you for representing Vallejo, our home. And what I see with our youth working with all facets of Vallejo, all government and all areas, together we can change these items or the obstacles we have. And the power of the youth, you are our future. So again, very proud of what you presented. And a few things you talked about reputation. And we all have to make sure we are representing Vallejo, being proud and showing who we are, our diversity, and our love for our city. Yes, we have obstacles that challenge us, but together we will overcome them. You also talked about art and beautifying. Vallejo with our waterfront, to me, we're one of the most beautiful cities in the Bay, and the opportunity here is just phenomenal. One thing that I like to say is we all just have to be aware of our attitude of being positive and remembering who we are, and that if coming together, we do have power, and working together. I like what you said about having the scavenger hunt. For people who are not aware of different areas or different things that Vallejo offers. Having them get involved and go and find those and get to see all the different things we do have. The Washington DC one, I know with Pippin Dew and Hakeem Brown, and I see people in the audience too, I know we can reach out, and I'm sure that we have organizations here in Vallejo that would help sponsor students to go. So that's something that I personally would like to look into, and it's a partnership. Again, thank you very much for your presentation, and let's turn it now to Vice President Abaldi and then Trustee Gross.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I saw Vice President Pippin Dew agreeing about the funds. Are you saying you funded it by yourself?
Not by myself, but I do believe I have the support on the council.
Thank you.
Partner with the school district, and certainly I think we can expand upon that program with sponsorship. Absolutely, I would love to be able to take over Washington DC next March.
Let me be, so I'm not confused. I usually get confused. So, are you saying that you will add 5 more, or?
No. So we split the cost on this one. So we paid for half of the airfare, the travel accommodations, and the hotel accommodations, the cost of the conference.
Pay the other half?
I do believe.
The district,
We
okay.
did.
All right, that's good. That's why I want to be clear, okay? If you double your program, your funding, then the school district can double it, and we can send 10, rather than.
I would say sponsorships would be the next option.
Sponsorship? Mhm.
Yeah, we definitely love this program, want to continue to support it. I think it is important to have the community have some buy-in on these types of programs. I mean, you can't, do these things in isolation. And the name of the game these days to get anything successfully done on our student programs is collaboration. So we absolutely need to start tapping into our community partners on how we can support.
You want to add something to that, Councilman Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Vice Mayor said.
Microphone, sir.
I was trying not to talk.
Is it on? Well, I just want to congratulate the students. Vice Mayor Dew told me you all represented Vallejo very well. I do think that we do have support on council and with the city manager's office and making sure that we're putting our kids first. We have growing youth opportunities as a tier 1 priority for our students, and I really credit Vice Mayor Dew with really being a strong advocate for kids as well as myself. So you definitely have our support, as well as we would like to reach out to the business community to see how can we expand this program. So yeah, I would love to work with you all on that.
One last question. Not you, sir. James, how did you manage to be the only guy in that trip? Jade, okay.
I don't know, it just happened. I got lucky, I guess.
Thank you. That's
Gross.
Well, you guys said everything. I just want to kind of follow up what Councilman Brown said. I really want to thank you guys for going and representing Vallejo in the way that I know you do. And as a practitioner, as an educator here in this district for the last 30 years, I can appreciate the decorum and the skill that you took with you, because that's who all of you young people are. And I want to say it's really important that you do go to things like this. And again, I want to thank the city of Vallejo for sponsoring this. I won't get into the finances, because the bottom line is this is what we need to do anyhow. So it's going to get done. I just appreciate the fact that you come back, you see the need, and you're starting to accept the responsibility that you have to work on that. Vallejo's growth and Vallejo's promise is going to be what you guys want it to be, not us. We've done what we could do, but you guys are next. And going to things like this and sharing your ideas with other people and selling your city to other people is just what we need, and we definitely need it to come from young people like yourself. So again, I really want to thank you guys and the city and the district for supporting our students. This is what we do, okay? Thank you.
And just real quick, I have to say, they did such a phenomenal job that there were mayors from other cities that were trying to get their cards to them to give them internship opportunities in their cities. And I said, we're first, let us, we want to have them be our interns first. So, but certainly would never want to stop them from expanding their horizons and their opportunities. So they really did a phenomenal job. Like, hands down, they were some of the best, well-spoken, informed and engaged youth delegates there. And so I couldn't have been prouder. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you so much.
I want to say before we do, really, let's do them right and give them a standing applause because they're wonderful kids. Thank you.
All right, now we have our next presentation is we have a radio club at Jesse Bethel, and so I want to call that group up to the podium for a quick presentation on what they've been doing. No, yeah, all right. You got to let us know earlier, we could have done it.
All right. Good evening, Vallejo City Unified School Board trustees, President Fox, Vice President Dr. Ubalde, Trustee Lawson, Trustee Garner, Trustee Gross, and Superintendent Dr. Clark. My name is Rizal Verder Aliga, and I am a substitute teacher and the founder and lead mentor of KJBJ. These, to my left, are members of the KJBJ Governing Board that will present about our broadcasting club, KJBJ.
Okay, hello. So Jesse Bethel, Jaguars High School Radio, which is KJBJ. It's a broadcasting club which was founded by and created by a Jesse Bethel High School graduate, Rizal, or Mr. Riz, as we like to call him. It is a club that was also created by a variety of us club members on August 28th, 2019. And it is a club created by the students for the students.
KJBJ is an extracurricular activity focused on providing more coverage for Jesse Bethel High School affiliated activities and events that students can take part in during lunch and after school.
We are committed to providing and broadcasting the educational coverage of our high school. We have a wide variety for students, all grade levels, to choose which field of mass media or communication they want to get involved with.
In just 3 months, KJBJ has accomplished these things. 1, first English and Spanish play-by-play broadcast in Jesse Bethel High School history. First radio and TV show in Jesse Bethel High School history, where we interview faculty, coaches, students, and feature music. We offer workshops such as interviewing techniques and design skills, and in less than 3 months, we've reached 1,100 followers on Instagram and still counting.
Since October, on average, our Instagram reaches 1,000 viewers a day, with 500 new viewers every day from the month of October 22nd to November 22nd. We reached approximately 10,000 accounts who viewed our KJBJ Instagram. A feature on Vallejo Times Herald newspaper.
Before we go, we would like to add what KJBJ has brought to my academy/personal life. So my name is Aaron, and I will start. KJBJ has taught me how to be more social, as it improved my communication skills, and it also offered plenty of opportunities that will help me in the future.
This social media platform, known as KJBJ, has expanded my personal interest in the music industry, as well as showing appreciation for my school and giving credit to fellow members in the club. I admire the positivity, how diverse our club is, and how supportive we are by giving back to the Vallejo students.
This club has shown me how to have pride in my school. Vallejo has a negative connotation, so To have the ability to show our school culture and all that we are able to achieve makes me so proud of my city and and to represent Bethel. Being able to display everything the students of Jesse Bethel have accomplished this past year is so satisfying to me. Through KJBJ, I have learned ways of communication through forms of social media to reach a large audience, not only of Jesse Bethel High School students, but of their parents, other faculty members, and other kids from other schools. And to be able to work with my fellow members to produce work that we are proud of. Lastly, are there any questions that you guys have for our club? Any at all? Don't be shy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Can you give him a round of applause? Student rep.
All right, we have a student rep to speak next. Is it Leela Bros?
Rhodas,
Rhodas.
and, yeah,
And Jared De La Cruz.
Thank you, President Fox and Superintendent Clark, and to all the other board members. My name is Layla Brosis, and I am the JSB Student Body, JSB President. So today, I'm going to be giving you a short summary on our school board report. So for academies, this semester, all the Law Academy students have gone on college tours from sophomores to seniors. We also hosted a college application day to support all seniors in completing their college apps. This semester, law students have visited courthouses in Sacramento and in Vallejo. Last week, we hosted our Fall Awards Assembly where we honored over 100 students that earned honor roll recognition in the spring 2019 semester and over 50 students that earned Academy Awards for their character. For the Biomed Academy, they have sent students on college visits also. In addition, the Biomed juniors are working with Touro University graduate students on a multi-month public health research project that will focus on Vallejo, and this is a continuation of last year's project.
Hello, my name is Jared De La Cruz, and I'm also the JSB Vice President. And moving on to activities and sports, this year at the beginning in September and October, we held our senior picnic at Hurricane Harbor and our senior movie night. Additionally, throughout the season, our Jesse Bethel band had 5 competitive band reviews during the fall season from Santa Cruz, Pleasanton, Lodi, Napa, and then Fairfield, taking first place at least 3 competitions. And this Friday, they will be having their winter concerts. And at the beginning of the year, we are proud to acknowledge that we have clubs like KJBJ or the Fishing Club, with many interesting clubs brought to you by students. And then additionally, in October, we held organized by the JSB Beautification Commissioner, we organized a school-wide campus cleanup with over 150 students participating, including adults. We held 14 cleanup teams with cleaning up over 200 bags of trash. And currently, this week, we have our Winter Spirit Week to promote our school spirit for the winter theme. And yesterday, we held our annual Pearl Lantern Festival with over 120 students participating with 68 entries. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, comments?
Oh, so much.
I'd like to say thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you at future meetings.
Last call for any student speakers. So I see Mr. Jared Bordy, the Vallejo High School principal back there, and so he now sees firsthand what what he's going to have his students come and do next time. And I also see Dr. Edison Kelly sitting here in the front row, principal of John Finney and Farragut Academy, and so he sees firsthand what students are going to talk about when they come to the board meetings next. So I'll turn it over back to President Fox.
Do you think both of you gentlemen can have someone next Wednesday to present for something just to close out the year? No pressure, Mr. Thompson. Try to. Hopefully we can. And starting off the new year. Thank you. All right, moving forward. VEA, let's hear from them.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations, President Fox, Vice President Ubaldi, and welcome back, everyone else. This has been a pretty hard week for members of the VCUSD family. We lost a respected teacher, longtime teacher, so that is something that hits us all really close to home. So just as you're going through your day, just remember when you see your loved ones, hug them, kiss them, tell them you love them, because things happen. On another note, VEA participated in a toy drive. We collected a bunch of toys that we donated to Toys for Tots. We actually had the fire department come to our meeting and pick up the toys, which was really kind of exciting. It's something that we look forward to doing every year. We've participated in an LCAP meeting today for certificated staff and gave our opinions on where we think we're heading and where we should be putting our resources. We also participated in a meeting with the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence. They came to our rep council last week and asked us questions. So at this point, last month, Dr. Clark came and listened to us. This month, it was the California Collaborative that came and listened to us. So we do feel like we're being heard, which is a really good thing. So we hope that kind of model continues. Earlier this week, I attended the Wellness Center opening at the Vallejo Regional Education Center, which was one of those things that they were just talking about that they have up at Bethel, but not at Vallejo High School. So going to the new opening, it does stress that this is something that should be at all of our school sites. We need to have a place where people can go, get re-energized, take a time out, get resources as needed. So this is the holiday season, which for many people is very joyous, but can also be a time of extreme pressure for others, something we need to take and remember at all times. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, do we have anyone from CSEA? Hopefully we'll start having attendance there. Yes, we need to work on that. VSMA. Anyone representing VSMA tonight? Nope. All right. No reports from district advisory committees?
From the...
Okay. A3.1, renaming Vallejo Middle School.
Yeah.
This is something that was brought before us, and each of us board members submitted a name, and we had a committee that has worked on this. So tonight we are going to hear about the results.
Yes, and I'm going to turn it over to Mitch Romeo, who's just going to introduce the group, and then the team will present their recommendations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark, and congratulations, President Fox, Vice President Ubaldi. Yes, on November 8th, we were instructed to form a committee, and so the board appointed the distinguished City Council member Hakeem Brown, the distinguished Mr. Foster Hicks, Miss Donna Lawson, longtime educator in this community, of course, our longtime principal, Miss Alyssa Shank-Stewart, and Dr. Mike Santos to the committee. We met and had a lively meeting, and there's a determination and a recommendation to be made this evening. Miss Alyssa Shank-Stewart will present the recommendation.
Not even know when we were going to do this tonight.
Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Clark, President Fox, Vice President Ubaldi, Trustee Lawson, Trustee Gross, and Trustee Gardner, along with teachers, staff, students, and community members. I am Elissa Shanks Stewart, and with me tonight is Mr. Foster Hicks and Council Member Hakeem Brown. Missing, as was stated, is Dr. Mike Santos, who was not able to be with us, and I guess Mrs. Donna Lawson.
Lesson planning.
We are the members of the naming committee for the former Vallejo Middle School facility located at the southwest corner of Amador and Nebraska Streets. Each one of us was appointed by one of you to serve on this committee. Thank you. We each had thoughtful suggestions for names. However, after listening to the rationale for each, we came to a majority on one name for the complex. The John W. Finney Education Complex would include the Professional Development Center, Independent Study Academy, Everest Academy, and John Finney High School. John W. Finney had a long, illustrious career in education as an administrator in this district. In addition to his career in education, he also had the eclectic experience of professional football player, Muni bus driver, and law enforcement officer. Throughout all walks of life, those who had the opportunity to interact with him were always met with integrity, dedication, diligence, and positivity. Once the students, faculty, and staff are educated on the overall dedication and varied background of John W. Finney, the man, and possibly a visit with him, they too will understand and appreciate the reasoning behind our choice. We submit this as our recommendation, and we believe it speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thank you. First Light, Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry Donna couldn't be here tonight, but she told me about the what you did, you know, and it was it was a very good experience, she said, and she really really enjoyed that. And I think it's a fine idea. From a practical sense, it kind of indicates that whole area down there, which is the largest part of it is John Finney High, and but also many of the educational facilities there do sort of interact anyway, so I think that's good. Plus, Mr. Finney's just one heck of a guy. And the kind of guy who can talk good education, or he can show you where on Corpus Field he ran an 81-yard touchdown against one of the teams back in the days of playing some semi-pro ball and stuff up in this area. Still, just a great guy, wonderful. And been a wonderful inspiration to so many students over the years, both in the comprehensive high school venue as well as the continuation high school. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So thank you very much for your committee's work.
Thank you.
Trustee Vice President Baldi.
I received 2 emails from your committee members. One recently from Council Member Hakeem Brown this afternoon. And earlier, I got another one from Dr. Santos. And let me read them to you, if I may. This is from Dr. Santos. Although I wasn't present during the discussions, I understood that Mr. John Finney's name surfaced as a preferred name for the facility. Mr. Finney is a highly respected, well-revered member of the community. I have worked with him during my tenure as principal of Solano Middle School. However, in our progressive, ever-changing, diverse society, I wanted to engage in deeper discussion about naming possibilities. If Vallejo truly believes that we embrace and celebrate diversity, I feel that it is about time for us to name a facility after a person of Filipino descent, especially since we have a significant portion of students, parents, and community members who represent our population. I believe that it's time for Filipinos to be acknowledged for their contributions to the school district and community over the years. I have embraced the opportunity to have deeper dialogue with committee members regarding my perspective on the matter. Also, I would also raise a question about duplicating names for the facility. If there is a John Finney Continuation School in the facility, why are we naming the facility again using his name? Wouldn't this be redundant? What guidelines do board policy and administrative regulation indicate regarding this issue? Once again, I prefer a more universal descriptor that reflects the diversity of the plethora of program services which the center offers. Then, if I may, I'd like to read Councilmember Hakeem Brown's. Would that be permitted, sir? Okay, yeah. The majority of the board wants to name the property and the high school John Finney. Both myself and Coach Santos disagreed. I thought we should stick to the district's policy of not naming two things the same name. The group overruled us. Question I have, Mr. Romeo, is there a policy in the school policy that states that we cannot name two things in the same name, with the same name?
So give me 1 second here.
While you're looking at that, let me state publicly that I am one of Mr. Finney's perhaps supporter, and I honor him with deep respect and honor, and that has been my statement throughout the years that I have met Mr. Finney. So I just want that to be acknowledged publicly also.
So Board Policy 7310, naming of facility, provides guidance as to how we move through this process. The first portion was the appointment of a naming committee, which you see before you, and then the subsequent recommendation, and then additionally, a public hearing that's going to be held at the meeting of December 18th, so that the community can weigh in on the recommendation, and the board can then make a determination at that next Wednesday, or continue it for further discussion. The board policy states, in regards to your direct question, any name adopted for any new school shall not be so similar to the name of any existing district school as to result in confusion to members of the community. The determination of whether or not that's true or not is a determination of the board.
And I can speak to that as well, because this certainly was read to us during our committee meeting. However, we're not talking about two schools. We're talking about an education complex that has the school on it. It's not two schools. We did discuss that at length.
Mr. President, may I continue, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. My thinking right now is because it's a very honorable committee, and we all respect and honor each other. And when it came to me and recognized that there were two negative votes, I felt that it was important, in my own personal feeling, to bring it back, have further discussion on the matter. I know that Dr. Santos was not actively involved and there was a disagreement from the council member, Brown. And so therefore, my thinking at this point is I would like to table it and bring it back to you. I'm seriously, deeply, deeply concerned. If, for instance, I'm concerned that if you have another opportunity to name another schools or individual, then why not have that be recognized? Then you have more people recognized, rather than just, but I shouldn't say just, the wonderful Mr. James Feeney. And so I just strongly feel that this needs to go back for further discussion, and hopefully with Dr. Santos present, because I think he has something very important to offer and insight to the diversity, not only of the committee, but recognizing the diversity of the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
This item is an informational item only, so it will not be tabled. But we appreciate the recommendation in your hard work, because you worked together and you met. We do have a public hearing next meeting where people can speak about what feelings they have for or against. So this is not ended here. We will, like Mr. Romeo said, we will continue this at the next meeting. But I do think we really respect that you have spent time and that you've worked hard together to come up with your recommendation. So we do appreciate your hard work. Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, well, I know you kind of concluded on that. I actually agree with the committee's choice, the rationale of it. As far as Mr. Santos, among other things, really didn't attend too often and then kind of slapped at it after the fact. I have some questions. Also, in terms of I think it is well and good that we should name something in this district after representative of the Filipino community. However, the facilities that are going to be involved at the old middle school, whether it's it's kind of like, let's name the football stadium after a home economics teacher. I mean, it just doesn't, it doesn't quite wash. It's not really quite fitting. There will be other things to be named, maybe in a more appropriate function, and that's kind of my take on it in terms of the services that have been provided by John Finney, independent study. These are not things that necessarily been identified with Filipino-American educators and stuff, and maybe a more appropriate time for this to be done as opposed to this facility here. And that's where I come down on this. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. President, just point of order. I did not recognize that this is for discussion only, since Mike, as I sent a word to our executive secretary, Mike, agenda online was not working on my computer, so I was not able to read everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Your lights. And just a quick comment. I'm sure our home economic teachers or individuals, there could be someone phenomenal that we could name anything after any individual, but I understand your point. But anyways, again, thank you for your recommendation, and hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll have further discussion, and then we will decide on the renaming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so now we're at community forum. And we have first and only Dr. Schussel.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to talk tonight about a research article that I had sent to Dr. Clark and the board members, and because I think it has a lot of relevance for this district. And the key finding of the authors was that only 17% of students who were chronically absent in both kindergarten and first grade were reading proficiently in the third grade, compared to 64% of those with good attendance. And the authors found that you could reverse this deficit in reading if students improve their attendance. And students who don't read at grade level by third grade are significantly more likely to drop out later as they get older. And the reason all of this is important, I just want to point out Vallejo has the second highest rate of chronic absenteeism for students in grades 1 to 3 among larger districts in the entire state. So it's a big problem here. And some of the suggestions of the authors that I hope can be implemented by the district are in these lower grades. One, connect with parents during the summer and throughout the school year about the value of good attendance and let them know you are there to be a partner with them every day. Two, attendance improves when parents believe schools are safe, trust the teacher, and feel connected to the elementary school. Three, they suggest offering real incentives to parents to recognize their efforts to build a culture of attendance. That's one area I think Vallejo has a big problem, is that that culture is not there. And one of the other ones is identify barriers to attendance and partner with parents to alleviate them. And my recommendation is that the district identify the 4 or 5 elementary schools with the highest chronic absenteeism and create aggressive programs to help lower it. I know Dr. Clark has put programs in, but I think it needs to go beyond just what he's doing. And in my experience, if you try to roll this out to all of the elementary schools at once, probably it's going to fail. It's much better to just do a few schools and try to do it right and learn from your mistakes rather than just roll it out everywhere. And finally, on a different note, I'm requesting it as part of one of Dr. Clark's student superintendent reports that he discuss how the district is using funds from the McKinney-Vento Act to help homeless students. I would point out that currently 60% of Vallejo's homeless students are chronically absent. It's a huge problem. Vallejo, among larger districts, is the second highest in the whole state for homeless students being chronically absent. And I think that the question is, what is the district specifically doing for homeless students? Not for students in general, but these monies were supposed to be spent towards homeless students. And I wish everyone a good holiday and a safe new year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're on to superintendent's report.
Great. So good evening, everybody. First of all, we're going to probably take a quick break after this. Do the students in the room have forms that need to be signed? Okay, so during the break, usually you guys turn those in, and then I'll sign them. But I'll take care of those during the break, okay? And we'll do a break after this report, if it's okay with President Fox. So I first want to start off with just reviewing our LCAP goals. As we heard earlier, that there was an LCAP meeting tonight, earlier this afternoon, actually. So Vallejo City Unified will increase parent and community engagement in improving student outcomes. And Vallejo City Unified will create safe, supportive, and engaging learning environments for students and staff. And Vallejo City Unified will increase the number of students graduating college and career ready. So those are our 3 LCAP goals, and that is the work that we do each and every day in this district. So first, I just want to go back on December 5th. We held here at the district office. We held a substitute employee job fair, and at this fair there were teachers, custodians, nutrition services employees, school site safeties, and bus drivers, maintenance workers, and secretaries who all came out and were able to fill out applications, and some actually got hired on the spot. So I think that's a good thing, and I want to acknowledge our Human Resources Department for putting this on and for actively recruiting substitutes within our for our district and to serve our students. President Gradwall spoke earlier about the Wellness Center opening, and so we did have a Wellness Center opening at the Vallejo Regional Education Center, and it actually is the first wellness center of an adult education program in the nation. So this is something that we should be very proud of, and thank you. And as you see in the pictures, there's a picture sort of before and after. It was filled with adults who utilize our adult school, and so so that is a kind of a hidden gem up on the hill there. And I don't, is Laura here? Laura usually comes to every meeting, and now that I'm talking about her, she's not here. So they do an excellent job there. But as we were talking about collaboration earlier, we collaborated with Solano County Office of Ed, Solano Behavioral Health, County Medical Services Programs, and UC Davis. And I know that there is a need and a desire to open wellness centers throughout the district, and we are currently partnering with these groups to open additional wellness centers in the district, and those will be named. And there is an application being submitted for Vallejo High School. So we are excited for that, and I think it's something that our students and staff can utilize to really deal with some of the things that are out there. The African American Parent Network is having every school day counts, going on the theme of attendance. As many of you know, if you have anything to do with our schools, you know that attendance is something that we talk about each and every day. All of our schools talk about it. We are actively working to ensure that parents and students understand the importance of coming to school each and every day. And so the African American Parent Network, their theme is Every School Day Counts. And this meeting is actually taking place tomorrow night at the Hogan Middle School cafeteria from 6:30 to 8:30. And although it's the African American Parent Network, all are welcomed and all are encouraged to attend to collaborate and talk about how we can improve outcomes for all of our students. The other thing I wanted to acknowledge is that just as with the naming committee, we did put together a property advisory committee, and there was an article in the paper, and I know we posted it on our website and our social media, that there is going to be a public hearing. There's going to be a community public hearing session next Tuesday, December 17th at Hogan Middle School, and we will, just as we did tonight, we're going to collect input about some of our surplus facilities. And I know that there's going to be some recommendations coming forward to the board about some of our facilities and whether or not we need to consolidate, which I've already talked about the need to consolidate, but where those consolidations need to take place. And so we will be collecting input at this meeting on next Tuesday. And lastly, I just wanted to announce to everyone, as if people did not know, but we do have holiday break coming forward, and we will every district facility, all schools in the district office will be closed from December 23rd to January 3rd. Our students back Monday, January 6th, and we will be very excited for that. So with that, that concludes my report. If there's any questions from the board, I'd be happy to entertain those. If not, then I'm going to ask the president if he will allow us to take a 7-minute break so we can get these students back doing their homework, I'm sure, and I could sign their
Sounds
papers.
good. 7-minute break.
7-minute
Thank
break.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Oh, man. So we have the consent agenda, and then my presentation. Then Cleo has to present something. Cold?
And I remember this before when it rains. Do you feel it there? It's damp?
I live in a concrete house.
Yeah. And the water, it always seeps through this.
Yeah. But I covered it. That's what it reminds me of. But we furred out the walls and we put up drywall. I think 1948.
We have some neighborhoods
That cinder box.
that are also neighborhoods. Yeah. And they're older neighborhoods. Our house was wood because the first house we bought was like tiny, like under 1,000 square feet. But some of the houses that were near us were cinder block because ours was built in the early 1900s. And it seems like maybe, in that next wave of building.
Yep.
Does it hold the heat? Is it pretty well insulated?
So it's like in the summer, it was hot as can be. In the winter, it's cold as can be. Like this.
That was the problem with our old house. No insulation.
Yep.
Like attic.
So now it works because we put like insulation in the between the furring strips. Oh, Bob's back. I thought Bob left. He had his hat and his jacket on. He's back.
Maybe I get
Next week too, come. Just 4 hours.
And I'm trying to run through everybody.
I think that's what you do.
Was it the one you were putting? Yeah. I'm pretty familiar with that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, they have a bias, but you know what? It's good stuff.
Yeah, we've actually, used that data
Hey, how are you? Good.
Better.
Thank you for the card and.
Oh, sure.
Well, as the item stated, I did talk to him. I presented what his recommendation at the committee, and I sent you. So, sir, they just didn't agree.
School board members, superintendents.
There was an era of that. We didn't have Abraham Lincoln on the school board.
No. We did have Benjamin Franklin.
I get you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think so. Well, they did their job, they presented their recommendation.
So he's got something in you.
Yeah.
Last time it was peanut brittle. Hey.
Oh, that was so
Peanut
good.
brittle and the roasted peanuts. Oh my gosh.
For Dr. Clark or no? Oh, he's here. Okay. All right, we're going to reconvene. We do have all board members. Okay. So now we're on agenda item 10, consent items for board action. Anyone have items to just,
Questions?
I have a question on one. Anyone else? We're good with all consent items? May I ask my question
Yeah,
now then?
please, yeah.
Ms. Summers, for action 10.2.12, Life Touch? Do we look at local, how many different places do we look at local people? And I know Life Touch because I've been familiar with it for years. But do we also look at local companies as well?
Got it?
I am not,
I know.
do you know? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
So with Life Touch, usually I would imagine that this is a high school contract. And so with high schools, whether you're working with Johnston's or Life Touch, each high school has their own relationship with a photography company.
Okay.
Some of them throw in deals on, graduation gowns or give donations, particular things. And so they look at whatever's going to be best for their particular students. And actually, if it's the high school, it's usually student leadership that is working with the leadership teacher or whatnot to look into that. So as a district, I know we use a local company, but as the schools, they kind of have the freedom to work with it. And it's usually Life Touch or Johnston's.
Thank you so much for that explanation. So with that, may I hear a motion to accept our consent items?
I'll move that we accept them.
Second, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
They're eating, so we got.
They're not talking. Don't choke.
Oh,
So that takes us down to 11, I think. Let me find it. Well, it takes us to 12. Okay, here we go. 12.1, academic achievement and accountability. Nothing there?
12.2.
Okay. Business services, 12.2.
Right here.
All right.
So 12.2, I believe, is the rejection of claim.
12.2.1, reduction of claim A.
So this is just to start the process on a claim, so it's for approval. It's just a personal injury claim.
Trustee Lawson,
Yeah, I move we reject that claim.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. And now 12.2.2, our 2019-20 first interim report.
All right, good evening.
Evening.
So tonight, we'll be talking about the first interim report. Before I do that, I just want to remind everybody about the LCAP goals. Mine are a little different than what Dr. Clark presented, but it's pretty much the same. Increase parent and community engagement, create safe, supportive, and engaging learning environment for all, and increase the number of students graduating with A to G requirements met. So tonight, we're going to go through the significant changes from the adopted budget, the 1920 revenue and expenditure assumptions. Just go over the enrollment. I have a slide on the enrollment from adopted budget compared to the first interim budget. I'm going to go through the multi-year projections, talk about some of the budget concerns, and then just go through a quick timeline through May of 2020. So with that, I just wanted to highlight some of the big things that changed from the adopted budget. One of the first things, we were here in September with the year-end closing. So our unaudited actuals, we saw an increase in our unrestricted ending fund balance. Also, there was a one-time unrestricted revenue that came with the adoption of the state budget, which was not included in our adopted budget because we didn't have that information. But it is related to special ed preschool early intervention funds. The interesting thing about this is it came in unrestricted, so it can be used for anything, and it totaled 1.4 million roughly. Another highlight for us is our enrollment projections. We're 219 students higher than our projected enrollment that we had at the adopted budget. And lastly, our net charter shift, which is the students that leave our district to go to a charter school. That was 203 ADA less than what we projected. So that is affects our current year revenue. And you'll see a slide on that, but basically it generated about $2.1 million more in revenue for 1920. So moving on, just highlighting some of the general fund revenue assumptions. Our average daily attendance is estimated at 10,301, but due to declining enrollment, we're based on the prior year ADA of 10,451. I have a note in here that our net charter shift calculation is at 471, which is 203 less than what was projected at the adopted budget. And then the next bullet point talks about our increased CBEDS enrollment being 219 students higher. And the biggest reason for the net charter to be a lot lower is based off the enrollment list that we received from Elite Charter School. Only 248 of their students, of their 500 plus students, came from our 18-19 enrollment. So with that, we use a 91.5% ratio. And so we calculate that, and we have that information by grade level, and we include that in our revenue projections. So that's where we see the decrease, because when we did the adopted budget, we took it student for student. So at the time, we had, I think it was 501 students, 504 students. So basically, it was half of what we projected. Our district's unduplicated pupil percentage, which generates our supplemental and concentration funding, is estimated at 74.5%. This will be revised if we have any changes to that information. We did go through the certification process, but we do have a window through, I think, the third week of January to finalize those numbers. But I think those are pretty strong, so I don't see this number changing very much. Lottery revenues haven't changed since the adopted budget, as well as the mandated cost block grant figures. And the next slide just basically outlines our general fund revenues. As you can see, the majority of our funding is generated by the local control funding formula at $114.2 million. Like I said, that is up $2.1 million from our adopted budget. Our total revenues are roughly $150.3 million. Just a couple things to point out. As I stated earlier, our other state revenues on the unrestricted side include that one-time money of $1.4 million. And then on the restricted side of our state revenues, it includes our STRS on behalf of almost $4 million. So moving on, this is just some of our, I just want to highlight some of our general fund expenditures. We do pay about $3.6 million towards our state loan payments. And just a reminder, our projected balance at the end of this fiscal year is roughly $15 million. So we got about 5 years left to pay off on our state loan. So the end is in sight, which I didn't really pay attention to that till this spring when I thought, that's right, we're coming to the end of that. So right now we're projected at $15 million at the end of this fiscal year. We generate we had $21.75 million budgeted for supplemental concentration funds. Based off the enrollment adjustments, there was a slight increase of about $418,000 for the 1920 budget year, and that is designated in our fund balance. So we will work with Ed Services in aligning where those funds will go. Our current year budget includes the STRS and PERS increases over last year. Just a reminder, it includes a 2% ongoing salary schedule increase. It has also built into the budget the fully paid dental that will begin in January 2020. And we have, as part of our LCFF, we have to identify how much money we have for our education protection account funds, which is $16.8 million, and that all is allocated towards instructional salaries and benefits. So moving on, the next slide just kind of outlines our expenditures by category on the unrestricted side, and then combined, which would include our restricted funds. So as you can see, on the unrestricted side, we're spending about, or we're budgeted to spend about $101.7 million. Our total expenditure budget is roughly $150.5 million. And approximately 83% of our unrestricted budget goes towards salaries and benefits. And then when you look at salaries and benefits with our combined resources, it's roughly 76%. The next slide outlines our contributions. So these are contributions to programs or to restricted programs to cover their expenditures that are in excess of revenues. We are estimating our special ed contribution to be $15.1 million. What we contribute to our restricted maintenance account has not changed since the adopted budget of $4.8 million. And then we have our contribution to the ROTC program, which was a slight change from adopted budget, but it was very minimal. But we're contributing a little over $142,000 for a total of $20 million in contributions to programs. And then the next slide just kind of highlights from a high level what our total revenues are, what our total expenditures, and then what our net increase or decrease, in this case, to both the unrestricted and restricted sources. But basically, as you can see on the unrestricted side, we're projecting a deficit spend of a little less than $500,000. And that is primarily due to the revenue adjustments. So when you couple the $2.1 million in added LCFF revenue plus the $1.4 million in that one-time funding that we didn't have at adopted budget, that totals roughly $3.5 million, roughly. And that's the majority of the change between adopted budget and the first interim budget. When it comes to the restricted side of the house, a lot of the change in the expenditures is related to carryover funds. So, for example, like Title I, we had carryover funds of about, I think it's $1.2 million. So at the end of the year of 18-19, we redistributed those funds in the budget, and that shows up as part of the first interim budget. So a lot of those kinds of funds are built into the first interim, and so those are the variances that you would see from adopted budget to today.
Would you go back to page 9, Adrian?
Sure.
How did we come up with the $15 million for the special ed instruction?
So basically, it is we take the revenues, the projected revenues, and then whatever our projected expenditures are, and the difference is the contribution to that program.
Now, from revenues from the feds?
From the federal, so federal revenues and state revenues. Right.
And you add that, and then is there a percentage of that comes through with that?
Well, I don't know the exact percentage of that we're not getting funded, but basically we take the allocations that we are given by the CDE, and then we plug that into our into our financials and contrast that against our projected expenditures, and so the difference between those two is the contribution.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Lawson?
Just to be clear, then, this is, we're getting socked with this, in other words. In other words, beyond the $10,000 a head, we would be getting an ADA for anybody that's in special ed. This is money that we have to come up with out of the general fund because some other function which was supposed to cover this didn't, correct? We got Betty DeVos. right?
You could explain it that way, yeah. Because
I mean,
I would
it's-
say that the special ed ADA that is generated does come through the LCFF. So it does come from the unrestricted side of the budget, but the majority of the funding that we need for the extra services that we provide to students with special needs, we're not getting funded fully for it.
Right, okay, and does that also include, you know, my favorite topic, which is when we're spending $200,000 for one kid getting
Correct.
services because we got stuck with an IEP from another district?
So it would include students that go to non-public schools.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Gross?
Yeah, Adrian, question, what caused the carryover in Title I money?
It's just not being spent in the 18-19, or carryover in general
Yeah.
is when dollars aren't being spent in the fiscal year that they're allocated in, and then we have a time period to usually have about 18 months to spend those carryovers or carryover funds, and so those move into the next year. So it's basically unspent restricted funds.
So when we got that money, did we fail to specify what we were going to use it for?
I believe,
point.
I would say it's more that we've budgeted the amounts. It's just whatever we were working on, usually like if we were trying to hire somebody, I mean, the easiest example is if we were trying to fill a position that we can't fill, then that money will drop.
Right, okay.
Or if we were trying to get a vendor in to provide tutoring services and maybe we, you know, only needed them half the time that we thought.
So that, because we had that carryover, will 2021, will that money decrease in terms of what we get from the government?
No.
Okay.
It's always based off our census data and then our free and reduced percentage.
Okay.
I just want to remind the board that Title I funds are the most restrictive funds. So they're very detailed about what that money can go to. It can only go to a very small, small percentage to serve a small percentage of students, and so it's the most restrictive fund. So sometimes it's difficult to spend because you have to hire someone with a specific credential, or you have to provide services for specific students, and there are certain things that you can't purchase with Title I funds.
Okay, so moving on. So the next slide basically goes through the fund summaries of the rest of the funds that we have in our financials. Our special revenue funds include our cafeteria fund, our charter fund, I believe in adult ed and child development. But none of the funds that we currently manage are projecting a negative fund balance. But the thing that I just want to point out that we are monitoring the charter fund and the cafeteria funds. If you go into the attachment of the 200-plus page document that I attached to the board item, we do have multi-year projections in there for those two funds. But those are two things that we are monitoring to make sure that we aren't contributing from the general fund to those funds. And moving on to enrollment, I just wanted to highlight the difference between the adopted budget and the first interim budget. So as you can see, we are 219 students higher than the projection. The difference between the projection or the adopted budget and the first interim for the first projected year is mainly, and the second subsequent year, is mainly due to having a baseline enrollment from Elite Charter, and then taking the current year enrollment and looking at the way they want to grow into 2021, and taking the difference between that. So it was a little hard to do that when we did the adopted budget because we had no idea where the students were going to come from. So we took the most conservative approach, but now that we have more information, we're making those adjustments based off their current enrollment. So in the second year, I'm projecting it's a rough, I think it's 205 student that they may take. And then in the third year, 233 students. But basically, I just wanted to show the difference between adopted and first interim. So moving on to our multi-year revenue assumptions, we're projecting an enrollment decline of 786 students in 2021, a decline of 581 students in 21-22. And like I said, it's due to elite charter school. They're projecting to expand to 601 students in 2021. And based off their petition and their grade span projection for 2021, I'm projecting them to grow to 834 students in the third year out. And just a reminder, we do have Griffin Academy High School, which plans to open in 2021 with 140 students and then grow 140 students every year after that. We're calculating the net charter shift to be 740 in 2021 and 1,055 in 21-22. And just a reminder, we calculate that enrollment due to the charter school growth coming from the district at a 91.5% ADA attendance ratio. We're projecting our COLA to be 3% at 2021 and then 2.8% at 21-22. Our charter fund transfer, so basically the reimbursement we get from Vallejo Charter School for shared services, so the things that we do in human resources, business services, just anything we do district-wide, that would include maintenance and operations and the centralized ed services services that we provide, we share that on a per enrollment basis. So right now we're projecting that to be $500,000 in 2021 and $325,000 in 21-22. And the reason for the decline is that their ending fund balance is declining too fast that they can't support making those cost transfers. But right now, that's what we're projecting because those feed into our multi-year projections. And then in the multi-year revenue assumptions, I removed the one-time unrestricted funds as well as any carryover funds that we have in the unrestricted side, but this is the main one. And then our multi-year expenditure assumptions, I'm assuming a step and column increase of 1.1% for all salaries. I have built-in STRS increases of 1.3% in 2021, and then a small negative 0.3% in 21-22. PERS increases of basically 3.08% in 2021, and a 2.1% in 21-22. And then also built into our multi-year projection, based off our enrollment decline, I built in a 26 FTE reduction in 2021 and a 19 FTE reduction in 21-22, and this is a rough calculation based off a 30-to-1 ratio. And then I removed expenses related to carryover, expiring grants, and one-time funds from the restricted side. So any questions? So moving on, I know this slide is a little hard to read, but basically it's our multi-year projection without any budget reductions. So we meet our 3.5% reserve in the current year. You can see that our fund balance is a little over 12%. We meet our 3.5% reserve in the second year with our reserve a little above 6%, but you can see that we are deficit spending about $9.5 million in the second year. And it's the third year where we're deficit spending a little under $13 million, and our fund balance goes into a negative balance if we were to maintain our 3.5% reserve. So with that being said, just a couple of things that I want to point out, that our LCFF is declining from 1920 to 2021 by almost $6.5 million. From 2020 to 21 to 21-22, our LCFF declines about $3 million. And this is all calculated based off our enrollment projections. We are projecting enrollment at a 91.5% attendance ratio. I did some calculations before coming tonight, and just a 0.5% increase in that assumption would generate about $560,000 more in revenue. So if we were to use the assumption of 92%, you would see in 2021 and 21-22 an extra $560,000 in revenue in each of those years. If we were able to change that assumption from 91.5 to 92.5, you would see a difference of 1.1 million in each of those years. So I just want to point out that everything that we are doing and a lot of the change that we have seen from the adopted budget is related to enrollment and the attendance of those students that are here. So with that being said, the next slide basically outlines the reductions needed to meet the 3.5% reserve, as well as our assigned balances in our fund balance. So we are looking at $3.5 million in revenue enhancements and or budget reductions in 2021. And if we make those reductions in that year, that would carry over into the 21-22 year, so that would total $7 million in reductions. And then we would make an additional, or we'd have to find revenues or budget reductions of $3.75 million in the third year out. So we basically, at adopted budget, I believe our deficit was $23.25 million is what we needed to cover. With those enrollment adjustments, we've lowered it to $10.75 million over the next 2 years. So just things that we need to, think about and that we continue to monitor, of course, is our charter average daily attendance and the net charter shift implications, our program cost overruns and contributions to other funds. Like I mentioned earlier, monitoring the cafeteria fund, monitoring the charter school fund, and then of course we are always monitoring our special ed program because it takes $15 million of our $20 million contribution. And then of course, what does negotiations hold for us? And then, as some of the conferences that I went to in the last month and a half, they keep talking about the slowing economy, that we need to be prepared for that. And I know the dates have changed, but that's always something looming is, when would that recession hit and are we ready for it? And is the state ready for it? And in the end, it always affects school districts. And then I included a budget timeline. So we're doing the first interim report today. We have the governor's proposed budget that will come out by January 10th or on January 10th. Also, we'll be presenting our preliminary enrollment projections. Also, the Property Advisory Committee will be presenting their recommendations. February, we have our staffing and budget assumptions. Staffing and layoff actions are reviewed because we have the March 15th date that we have as a target deadline. So that's included in March, and then we'll be presenting the second interim report. And then April, my assumption would be that I'd be providing an update in March as well on budget development. And then in May, we'll have the governor's May revise. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Good?
So
Thank you.
just need it for action to accept.
The report, do we have a motion? Trustee Lawson?
Yeah, I move that we approve the report to be submitted to the county, correct?
Correct.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. And now we are on to 12.2.3, resolution. Is that correct?
Correct.
Vice President Baldi?
With the projection that we had last year when we approved our budget, we would be a deficit of 12?
For our 1920 adopted budget, our projected deficit for the two subsequent years was 23.25 million.
How are we doing? I can't quite try to communicate what this is saying to that group.
Okay, so it was 23.25 million, and we were looking at 7.75 million in budget, in revenue enhancements or budget reductions at the adopted budget. Now we are looking at 3.5 million of revenue enhancements and budget reductions. And then in the third year out, an additional 3.75 million for a total of $10.75 million, which is a good segue into the next board item, because the resolution is basically, we are making the commitment that we will be making $10.75 million in revenue enhancements and/or budget reductions.
Then how much the deficit then?
So we would be, so if we realize 10.75 million, the projection as of today, we would have a fund balance a little over 5%, which would support our 3.5% reserve and then our assigned balances.
In the third year out, we would have 5.25.
Correct.
Which would satisfy the count and everyone, okay. Any other questions? Trustee Lawson?
We're on the next item. I was just going to move approval of Resolution 2887.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And
Which,
who
I
sec-
mean, basically, the resolution says we're going to do what it says in the interim report. We're going to do what we can to make sure the interim report is right.
Correct.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do a roll call, or is that sufficient? Okay. All right, so, thank you very much. Human Resources, 12.3.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, President Fox, Vice President Ubaldi, trustees, Dr. Clark, and community members. It is recommended that the governing board receive information on a staffing update, and I will entertain any questions if there are any questions.
No questions? Trustee Gardner?
So it looks as if we have a number of classified vacancies. How many more now do we have than we had like last month? Because it looks like the in parentheses is what we need, correct?
That is correct. We have not considered any possibly new hires from recent, we've been interviewing, and so I can't give you that number. I can just tell you if there's a change next week. I can update you if we've hired anyone else, then I can tell you what the numbers are.
But the number of these vacancies at this point, are any of those, not all of these have been vacant since the beginning of the school year,
That is correct.
So how many are due to, like, retirements or people just leaving because they needed to?
So with our classified positions, as you know, If you move into another position, many times there are promotional opportunities, so you'll see changes because someone took another position. So it's always extremely fluid with classified positions. But what I'll do for next week is I'll bring you where we are now, because there are interviews. We're constantly interviewing and hiring, and people transitioning out due to retirement, due to resignations, and due to promotional opportunities. So it's more fluid, even though it appears like it's a lot. We also have, it's a constant move, more so than certificated. Yeah. So I can bring that to you next week and maybe be able to shed light on recent hires and where we are now based on the information that occurred for this week.
That would be helpful. Thank
Sure.
you.
Trustee Gross? No. Okay. Trustee Lawson?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I read the personnel actions thing on the consent calendar, I notice that there is a lot of movement with classified, and a lot of stuff like mid-year retirements and stuff like that, more so than with the certificated. And I don't, I mean, are our people in, you know, if you're a teacher, okay, if you're certificated, you're on contract, which many people don't abide by anyway, but nonetheless, you're on contract. The assumption is you're going to go from beginning of school year to the end. But with the classified employees, they basically can be from people that are working from month to month. I mean, they're not contracted employees saying, you worked for us in August and you will be here until June, otherwise you're breaking an agreement.
It is not the same as with a certificated position, but with regards to retirements and promotional opportunities, anyone can exit a position. So even a teacher who has a contract with us and say they become an administrator in another district, it's a promotional opportunity for them. And so what we will sometimes do is maybe have them stay on for that 2 weeks or the month, or try to fill the vacancy before they exit. But when it's a promotional opportunity, we can't retain them.
Okay.
If it's taking another teaching position, we can refuse to allow them to leave until we fill the position. But with retirements of both teaching and certificated position, in classified positions, you can retire whenever STRS and PERS tells you your retirement date is.
Okay.
So we have had instances where teachers have actually retired mid-year, or they retired in October, and we've had to backfill the position before the end of the school year. But it's not as frequent. Most teachers will wait, or they'll retire half year. So if they could go out in October, they may wait until December and retire and not come back in January. It's rare that they retire mid-year. It's just not something they do, but they could if they wanted to.
And we don't get any draft choices in return.
That is correct.
All right.
Vice President Ibaldi?
Thank you, President Fox. Dr. Patrick, am I clear here in saying that you have failed Loma Vista?
You are correct. I did not update because we're waiting for that person to start, but we did fill the Loma Vista position. We brought that to you a couple of times and then had something happen, so I was just reserving the announcement until the person is at the site. But we did offer, and that person did accept the position, so we're just onboarding them at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for your report. Now we're on operations, 12.4, 12.41, rolling one property, market value appraisal. No?
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you, President Fox. Just briefly, we have the results of the market appraisal from Rollingwood, and at $4.5 million is the current value of the property based on the results of Steve Salmon from Garland and Salmon.
Questions? Please turn your lights off if you do not have a question. Thank you for the informational report. Now we're on to 12.5, Measure S bond implementation, 12.51, Measure S consent items. Do I hear a motion? Trustee Lawson. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. So now we're down to item, is it 13? Or 12.6, 12.6.1? 12.6.1, Vallejo School Unified School District Policies and Administrative Regulations, first read.
Got Ms. Cheney for that.
Good evening, Governing Board. We're bringing to you CSBA policy updates, and that is the majority of the ones. And in addition to that, we have been doing a detailed review of our existing policies and comparing them against CSBA. And any place where we see that our policies are not up to date, we're submitting the updated ones, and that's all the board policies. So we're trying to make sure, my goal is by the end of the school year for us to be current and update with CSBA. And so we've been strategically working through various different departments.
Thank you. Trustee Lawson.
You notice there's not as many yellow marked items in this one as I've seen in some of the ones in the past, you know.
Right, we only put yellow marks that are options, so most of these were law changes. So
Okay.
they recommended the law, and we just agreed to go with their recommendation. I think there was just a few policies that had option 1 and option 2.
I see.
Those are the yellow noted ones.
So, and nothing particularly dramatic in any of this?
It's very interesting reading in the evening. And I can actually say I've read all 170 plus pages.
Well, thank you.
What more can I do for you?
Thank you.
Said somebody has to do it.
Yeah, somebody has to read this titillating, you know.
Yes.
When I quit this job, I'm going to write a novel. I've had all the practice for it, you know, by reading board policies. No, sure.
Thank you.
It
Ms.
won't be a
Cheney.
tell-all book. Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 13, reports of board members. Who would like to start? Or should we just start on the end with Trustee Gardner and move our way up?
Okay, well, I did have the opportunity to attend the California School Board Association Conference in San Diego and went to a couple very interesting sessions along with listening to, I was there for one of the general sessions. And the speaker, I can't pronounce his name, Michelle Mako, I think, or Maku, very interesting physicist who had my mind way out in the future, talking about artificial intelligence and what will be left for us humankind to be in the workplace. And it was interesting because most of the hands-on professions right now that we're actually re-entering back into the schools will still be around, plumbers and carpenters, and where there is perfection involved, and it's not just a routine rote process that has to be completed that robots could do. That was very interesting to me also about it was very, I had some weird dreams afterwards about his session, I'll just put it that way. And that's pretty much all the sessions that I went to. One was with regards to a program that starts in the 3rd grade, and it involves students. It's actually, it starts in the 4th grade, because what they want to do is bring up those kids that aren't really reading at grade level from the 3rd grade, because that's when we want to catch kids, is in the 3rd grade, make sure they're at reading level and literacy level. So at the 4th grade level, they have this, it's videos in the school, and they They write scripts. The kids come up with ideas on their own. Each student writes a script, and then the students get together and they determine which one of the scripts they want to produce. And then they produce videos, and they actually will hire their students. They work with a mentor that's in the industry, the video industry or the Hollywood industry, basically, because it's Edward James Olmos is the founder of this project, and it goes up through high school, and I want to learn more, and when I learn more, I'll bring that back to the board also. One of the comments that I heard in that session was in the Santa Ana School District, I believe it was Santa Ana, they were able to recoup students that they had lost. They were in a declining enrollment situation, and because of this program and the success of this program, they started to increase the enrollment again. So I want to look into that as well. So that really concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Gardner. Trustee Gross?
Well, I kind of want to echo what Trustee Gardner was saying about the California School Board Association Convention. I found it interesting, enlightening, and the speaker was literally out of this world. Very interesting. A physicist, string theory kind of guy, and just a lot of information that we might want to look at down the road. I also went to a special ed planning meeting last night and an LCAP presentation at Jesse Bethel a couple of weeks ago. And also, the other thing, though, I visited the Vallejo First Five Center, in Lauren Plaza, and it's a actually, I was there with a county supervisor, Aaron Hannigan, and it's very interesting. It's a place for parents to take their kids between 0 and 5, and it's a parent/kid education center. So any parent who has a kid between the age of 0 and 5 can go in there. They do outreach stuff for them. They teach them to have parent education classes. And it's in a neighborhood that would be real receptive to that kind of assistance. So I thought that was really good. And the county, and it's being funded by the Cache Creek Indian Tribe. So I thought that was very quite interesting that they would do that. But it should be opening real soon. So I would invite everybody to go by there. It's right in the Lawrence Center, and it's called like I said, Vallejo's First Five Center. So that was quite interesting. Another thing that's good for Vallejo to have. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, at the last interagency committee meeting I went to, they've been having guest speakers to fill in the hour. And they 2 times ago, it been fellow from the water department's been talking about stuff. But this last one, we had a couple sales reps, or at least representatives of the California Home Building Foundation, came and discussed a program of theirs, the Building Industry Technology Academy, which has a curriculum. We provide the teachers and stuff, and they provide the curriculum. That's one of those sort of deals. And I've given a copy of that to Sherry, and she's aware of that program and other similar programs that we have picked up. So that was that. And then the last night I was at the 4th annual stakeholder meeting, special ed, all these initials and everything, but it was we're talking about the significant disproportionality. I'm still, understanding, but essentially we went through about 8, 9 different stations. It was Trustee Gross and Superintendent Clark and I were there, and we went through various stations to see what some of the various problems that are involved in this sort of thing, ranging from cultural cognition problems to the fact we have a hard time keeping staff or the say disproportionality sometimes of the way we approach things. There's not always the same responses and stuff. So anyway, it was fairly interesting, and so they they sort of polled us by all the people who were there on what they thought that was most important, and they came up with three major ones, and I don't have them written down there, perhaps Dr. Clark does, as far as which of 8 different categories they ended up deciding that they would focus on. And then so, anyway, that was the extent of that, so.
Thank you. Vice President Ivaldi.
Thank you, President Fox. I don't know, did we report the Dixon meeting we had? Okay.
Can? I have it on my list.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4 of us went to that Dixon High School for the Solano County School Board and Community College Trustees Association. And we heard the discussion and about using the media and had a really fantastic change. There's a sense of change, engaging, rather than just sitting in, putting in time and eat your best tacos or whatever. And then on the 20th, I visited VEA Farragut Academy. On the 21st, I visited asked to attend a new group that's being organized in the city. It's a committee benefit coalition trying to subside any conflict. Miss I can't think of her name. Sheila was there, trying to benefit trying to stop any conflict that may occur even before anything that would benefit the city as a whole. And then on the 22nd, I attended the Black Chamber holiday event, and they honored Judge Davis and Mr. the Hat Man. What's his name? The man with the hat, sells the hat. Anyway, over on Georgia Street. Nobody. What's that? There you go. Yeah. Anyway, they honored them. And then on the 3rd, of course, I attended the CSBA. I was 2 days ahead of our regular trustees. And as I noted earlier, that I was elected my term for the regional director because I had no opposition. And on the last night, I had the most revealing and most exciting show where Dr. Clark and President Fox were having a competition on who can eat the most desserts. And there I watched them because I'm pre-diabetic, so I can't touch any of those desserts. And can you imagine how jealous I was and to seeing these guys, decide on who's going to eat the most dessert. Well, anyway, it was a tie. Nobody won, except I was the loser. And then on the 9th, with Dr. Clark and we attended the Regional Education Center Wellness, which he mentioned earlier. And that day also I visited the Dan Mini Elementary School. It's one of my adopted school. And they were very, very confessing that they really had a lot of support from the district. And they felt very good. And it was sad, but people were moving on. And then I attended the parole exhibit yesterday at Jesse Bethel High School. And then on the 16th, I hope all of you were invited to attend the parole of Vallejo High School. You did that last year. Yes, sir. It will be held at Vallejo High School. All of us, I think, made it last year, including Dr. Clark. At the auditorium. I think that's at 4 o'clock. What time? 4 o'clock? Is that 4 o'clock or 3? Probably 4 o'clock. And then from today, I attended the LCAP engagement. And I was a little disappointed that there were only 6 people who showed up. But I'd like for the district to consider the possibility of, before you announce the direction that LCAP will be used, how it will be used and divided, that you go back to this same group. So I think they need to take ownership of it also. We get input from them, but all of us, then next thing they know, we're talking about it. The board is talking about it. The presentation from the cabinet, and I'd like us to consider bring it back to them and look at it. And I appreciate also back to the wellness center and how we're able to use collaboration as a method and a model of looking at health in our community, and the fact that it is the only adult wellness center in the county, and the fact that we are working with the rest of the groups to enhance our community, and I'm very grateful for that. And the last thing I'd like to say is that I appreciate very much the bonding that took place during our conference. And Dr. Clark, I admire your ability to stick with your trustees and listen to the crazy things that they do, and being patient with us. But the years that I've served as a trustee, you've spent more time than other trustees that we've had, and I'm truly, personally, very grateful to you, sir. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Vice President Abaldi. For my report, I'm going to start with a number of us attended the Rebuilding Vallejo dinner about a month ago. And so that was a wonderful event, and participating for helping seniors and veterans. And so looking forward to that next year. Then also, as Dr. Baldi said, we went to the county board, which that's my assignment, and it was about communication. So we heard a lot about in crisis or in times of need, how the importance of communication, and had a number of people speak about that. And it was nice that I think most all of us went to that as well. Then with CSBA, the conference, it was a wonderful time for us all to be together and to learn. I took a number of classes. The first one was on policy, which we just heard a little bit earlier. And then one on equity, the Brown Act. The one that I really enjoyed the last day was marketing your district. So I'm looking forward to talking to Dr. Clark and others about how we're going to continue to market Vallejo and all the positive and wonderful things that we do here. So, and to piggyback on what Trustee Gardner said, the guest speakers were wonderful each day and very inspirational. The first day with the scientist.
Professor Kaku.
Professor Kaku, that's on Channel 9 with the long gray hair, talking about eventually you'll have a contact lens instead of a cell phone to be able to communicate. Interesting, a little scary. And then the next day we had, was it Ronald Susskind? The past press secretary, reporter.
Washington Post.
From Washington Post. And he talked about his son, Owen. I don't know if you know the movie Life Animated. If any of you heard about Life Animated. Anyways, Life Animated is a movie about an autistic boy who eventually finds his voice again through Disney films. And it's just amazing to watch how he was trapped for a number of years, then later in life was able to actually communicate through finding his way through the world through these films. And actually went and spoke in Paris and was interviewed and as an adult. I mean, it was just fascinating to hear that. Anyways, just love that. And the last day, our guest speaker talked about, we had a panel, and this was positive and negative. It was about funding for California and what to look forward to the next few years with the slip vote, I think it was Prop 13 revision, and then the following year for fair and full funding, which is a move to the next year. We heard from panelists talking about the pros and cons for this funding and what would benefit. And one thing, maybe Mel, one of the things was, one of them would just actually give us our COLA. It wouldn't give us much more. And then the other, for full and for fair funding, they talked about how California is the most taxed, one of the third or fourth tax states in the country, and how much we're taxed for all these different, so they opened my eyes to many other aspects of trying to get more money for our districts with different propositions. CSBA did a wonderful job every day with the speakers, the number of classes. I look forward with our board to be able to talk about the classes and what things we feel that we can make sure we tap upon or hit upon to make sure we move forward. So the study session is a good thing we have coming up. I think that's all for my report. And now we are on to...
Mr. President, may I add just two things? Yes. Just to show you the quality of people we have, Dr. Kaku is a Nobel laureate winner, and Dr. Ron Susskind is a Pulitzer winner. So we're talking about the best around us. And so I think CSBA should be recognized for that quality.
You did a great job with that.
Thank you, sir.
Community forum, we have no cards, so we will not be doing that. Item 15, future board agenda items. Does anyone have, I have something, but
Yes.
do you want to speak about that, Trustee Gross, or do you want me to? And then, okay, Trustee Gross had a wonderful idea, and again, to stay positive and marking our district. He has lots of great ideas. And what he would like to do is suggest is for next Wednesday, that if we can please go through the year at a glance on positive things or things we had to do to right-size the district, but where we've come through in this year. It's just a report talking about that. And trustees, if you have items from this last year that you want to have in that, please get it within the by Friday morning, by Friday at noon. Trustee Gross, did I relay it the way you told it to me? A year at a glance, positive things, and then report this next Wednesday night.
I kind of want to add what President Fox was saying. We've been on this board now, at least three of us, for a year. And I wanted to kind of take a perspective and look back at the year and ask the question, what have we done? What is the, why are we taking up this space up here? And I think it's going to be very enlightening for the community, number one, to know what we do as a board. And I think it helps it gives us a measurement about how far we have to go. So I thought about, I asked President Fox, if he could talk about the accomplishments that we have seen within the last year that we have been, personally involved in, and then where we're going from there and the things that we're looking at. So it gives the community kind of more of an education about what and how the public educational system works. So
How to end the year.
That was it.
If I could respond to that, I have my superintendent's action plan, and it was an 18-month plan, and so actually I was planning on doing an update on when we come back in January at the first meeting. And so with that, I'm going to be talking holistically about the last 18 months. And if you'd like, I could fast forward through the 6 months prior, so that I'm just focusing on the year that you guys were here. But if you will allow that, then I could really hit a whole circle of a wide range of things that have happened within the district over the last year. It's really 18 months, but I did give a mid-year update on the action plan, and so I can just include the last year in that action plan.
And I think that would be good, because we are doing this in tandem, and I want the community to understand that.
Yep. So if I could do that I was planning on doing that the first meeting in January. And I'll incorporate that in. Is that good? And
Yeah.
It'll be an agendized item.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Gross. Thank you, Dr. Clark. I think, Trustee Baldi, did you have an item for the agenda?
Yes, I would, as you know, we this parole program, that we invited them last year to come to compete for the first time. And we would like to at least 8 minutes to show all their, winners from Jesse Bethel and the winners from Vallejo High School. And we will select the top 4. And, they will not, hopefully they will not make any speeches, but just go through the procedure.
So on Monday, it's a 3-hour program, so you're telling me we can get that down to 8 minutes?
Yeah, because there are only 4 people, 8 people will be coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the board meeting on Wednesday,
Board
to
meeting.
have the
Yeah.
finalists from
Yeah.
both come.
That would be great.
Yeah, it'll
I'm
be a
joking.
thrill. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, we, not
I don't believe we
all
could-
68.
I don't believe we could do it in 8 minutes, but
No.
I'm humor.
Or hold you to that, Dr.
Okay, I'll tell them that. And the other thing is just for the record that I fought very hard on trying to keep the full and first full funding at CSBA. And the whole story, if you need to know, is that CTA really cut our legs off in many ways, because they want to have their own. They call it strip, is that what it is? Split. And we cannot have the split funding and the full and fair service together. So we have.
Everyone passed, both of them.
They've done all they can to study it, and CTA won that battle. So anyway, I lost that one too. Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, anything else? All right, for announcements, I do want to talk about that we had something very sad in the district. I'm hoping that Trustee Lawson or other trustees that knew this person would speak just for a moment, since I unfortunately did not know this person. Unfortunately, we had a passing in the district of one of our staff.
Yeah.
Lori Potts passed, that worked at Dan Minnie Elementary. Is there someone just for a moment that would please speak? And we would like to please honor this meeting in her memory.
So Lori Potts actually was a rep, and she came to all of our rep council meetings. She was a strong advocate for our teachers and for our students. She was a longtime kindergarten teacher. I'm not sure how many years she was with us, but it was quite a while. So her loss is going to be extremely felt over at Dan Minnie, because she's been there for a very long time. Her sister still continues to work there as a teacher. So, I mean, they've put their heart and soul into our community, into Dan Minnie School, and it was a sad loss, and it was something that was very unexpected. I talked to her for about an hour on Thursday night after our meeting, just chit-chatted, and she seemed perfectly fine. And then Saturday morning. So, yes, strong advocate, strong person, strong advocate, and just really took whatever she did to heart and tried to do her best at everything she could do. So she will be missed.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We do not have a closed session, and our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 18th. This Saturday, I do want to say one more thing. Saturday, we have our Mad Hatter Parade. A number of our bands will be in the parade, so if you want to go out and see that, I see some smiles, so maybe some people will be going or be in there. The Mad Hatter Parade will be this Saturday evening, and a number of our school bands will be in it. So at this time, we will